I think it's pretty exciting, if I'm honest. You know, they've been one of the form teams over the last 5 years, and you're going into a competition where it was a Nats whisker away the Six Nations from 4 teams, going for gold. So, I think it's going to be a very open competition. The Southern Hemisphere boys are doing their thing as they normally do, but we proved in the Northern Hemisphere this year that we're ready and the competition is fierce. I've got a few. The one that sticks out in mind is my 50th cap against France at the Millennium Stadium in 2008. Grand Slam winning game, leading Ray Gravel, the great Ray Gravel's children out. He sadly passed away a year or so before that. So gaining my 50th cap and my first Grand Slam where I participated in every game. So, it was amazing. Again, representing Wales in the World Cup in France and the UK was special as well. It was my first World Cup and I got the caps proudly displayed in my house as well. So I ended up playing over a long time, so you end up accumulating them over the years. But it started off with the likes of Scott Murray, the really good line-out operators. Which you had to do whatever you could to win line-out ball against him. He just seemed to be everywhere. He was a great competitor, great athlete. And then he moved on to the likes of Bakkies Botha, which was opposite. He was still a very good line-out operator, but then he was just a tough bloke, and he loved the cheap shot, and but he would accept it as well. You give it back to him, and he'd get up and in his Dutch voice and come back and give you another one. So it was one game that you play against the Africans, and especially him. You're in for a torrid time. As you're growing up, they're sort of your idols, and you're looking up to them, and the next minute you're in the same pool playing against them and with them. But the likes of the person I used to, when I was a kid, watching television, watching rugby, was Zinzan Brooke, the famous New Zealand player who was amazing, could drop goals from 40 metres, he could put huge hits in, but the touches that he showed, he showed a forward can be very skillful, he could do everything. And then the likes of Dale McIntosh, when I was at Pontypridd, was fantastic. You come up there, he was a guy that you wanted to play for, man mountain of a bloke, tough guy, but a great guy off it, as was Garen Jenkins, to name my favourite Welsh players as I was growing up. And then to play alongside him was great, because to tell you what, to play against him was a bit tougher. I've been lucky enough to play in in many stadiums around the world, and it started at Cwmbran Rugby Club for me, but probably the most impressive place I've played with the biggest carnival atmosphere as such is the Stade de France. The Millennium Stadium takes some beating, with the roof closed. I remember playing England, I think it was in 2007 or 2006, and it was, the noise was so intense you couldn't hear anything. But for a carnival atmosphere and a great place to play, and I've been lucky enough to win there, it's the Stade de France against France. And there's cockerels coming on the pitch, there's bands playing. It's just an absolute carnival. It's a great spectacle. It's a great place to play. But I've been lucky enough to play in many stadiums, and they all hold a bit of a special place.